Putting Down the World, a Dhamma reflection offered by Liem as part of the funeral service for Jill Burgis, Ajahn Kalyano's mother, who passed away on 26th of April 2021. Whatever you observe, see it as if receiving a teaching. Whether you observe a piece of timber or a person, you must examine closely. There are things that teach you and make you clever and wise, but you will discover that absolutely everything is poisonous because it is subject to impermanence. Today is the last day of the month of April 2021. This points to the truth that time is always passing. The truth is there for consideration at every moment and in every place. So we need to cultivate the internal qualities of heedfulness and mindfulness. Coming to the end of one's life is an inevitable part of the natural cycle. No one can avoid it. Speaking in the conventional way, we say it is Dhamma. Dhamma is nature. It includes our health, the material world, and the aggregate of the physical body. We say that our body is part of the Dhamma. We call it Rupa Dhamma. In conventional terms, we say it is part of the Satya Dhamma, or the truth of the way things are. The truth is that nature performs its duty with regard to our body, and we have no means to prevent that. We have no ownership rights over the body. Therefore, we must relax our grip on it, let it go, and be willing to put it down. Relaxing our grip on our body means we mentally relinquish our attachment to it. Loosening one's hold means to set it aside. We set it aside and allow ourselves to give up the ownership and identification with it. Our mind is cleansed and purified as we mentally relinquish and put down our clinging to the body. Once the mind is cleansed, we experience mental states that are pleasant and we feel at ease. We let go of worry and anxiety. This is a factor supporting our experience of mental freedom. Recollect that we are following the path of practice laid down by the Lord Buddha. He was virtuous and well developed in all forms of goodness. We can say that his virtue and goodness was without comparison in the world. The Buddha was endowed with the qualities of compassion, karuna, and goodwill, metta. The quality of goodwill supports the world. Goodwill supports the world by removing the mental experience of fear of danger. We must take these qualities as important principles to contemplate and give them wise consideration. We call this the cultivation of Cintamaya Panya, which means using our thinking to wisely reflect on and thoroughly examine these principles until we fully understand them from all aspects. You could say it means we know how to add and subtract, multiply and divide with regard to them. Having given wise consideration, we know how to respond appropriately and skillfully to the world from a place of goodwill. We establish a skillful intention based in goodwill for all other beings, together with compassion and empathy. The wise consideration becomes a cause for the correct set of instructions guiding our behavior to arise in our mind. These instructions lead us to give importance to and value those people who have helped us in our life. As their life ends, we respond by practicing goodwill towards them until the very end of their life. With goodwill, we support them as they finish their time here, as their life's program comes to an end and they separate from us. Those people we value and appreciate and relate to with gratitude and appreciation still must leave us in accordance with the law of nature. No one can prevent it. Contemplate this. We must make this understanding very clear at this time. The Buddha spoke through the convention of language and summarized the truth that all sankharas, or formations, both physical and mental, perform their duty of arising and ceasing in accordance with reality. Nobody can avoid this truth, and consequently, the Buddha instructed us to examine it, constantly remind ourselves of it, and reflect on it over and over again in our mind. Through the presence of mindfulness and constant recollection, we internalize and accept the truth. The sages praise a person who can teach his or herself the truth as expressed in the saying, "One teaches oneself to go beyond that which is wrong. Who will teach others if they can't teach themselves? If we can teach ourselves successfully, that is best of all." The wise have given us these teachings for us to bring our thoughts and views in line with Dhamma and develop what we call right view after thorough reflection. With right view, we gain immunity from suffering. With the correct view of things, our mind becomes peaceful and secluded from the mental defilements. Even though we still live in the world with all its embellishments and decorations, we can see both the benefits and the harm in these. The Buddha had us establish mindfulness and reflect on the worldly dhammas of praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, and see these experiences in light of the truth, to see them as the normal processes of the world. Reflecting on the truth leads us to relinquish and let go. It brings up that quality we call samvega, as we gain an urgency to practice Dhamma because we see the true nature of the world. Anicca sankhara means all conditioned things, both physical and mental, are subject to change and always will be. Please understand that this truth remains the same whatever the period or era in human history. We must investigate and contemplate the truth so that our view of things is adjusted and falls in line with the truth. From such insight, we gain mental strength and energy to protect ourselves from the mental defilements. If we have strength of mind, then there is nothing we cannot do. Strength of mind is one factor that gives us the power to overcome obstacles and make them disappear. It also gives us the knowledge to discipline ourselves and adjust ourselves to the realization of the true nature of the worldly dhammas, so that we understand how to use them and relate to them for our benefit. If we don't know how to relate to the worldly dhammas with right view and use wise reflection as we experience them, they can harm us. This applies with many things, such as the consumption of food, for example. When we consume food with understanding and wise reflection, it is useful and beneficial to us. But if we consume without understanding its true purpose and without knowing moderation in how we consume it, it can harm us and even be dangerous. So consider things in this way. We praise the Buddha as the Lokavidu, or the knower of the world. But to understand this term, we must turn our attention inwards and look into the nature of the mind. We have to look internally in line with the teaching, Eta pasatirang lokang, jitang raja ratu pamamang, yatha bala visidanti, nati sankho vijanatang. This world is like an ornamented royal chariot. Fools flounder in it, but for the wise there is no attachment. With mindfulness, we loosen our attachment to the world and see its nature as empty. Insight into emptiness leads us to relinquish. It feels like we are relinquishing a heavy burden. It's possible to put put down something heavy that we are carrying with us. Having put down the burden, our mind experiences a change. Instead of being deluded and blindly enchanted with the world, we see it as it truly is. We see it as ordinary. Attachment to the world can no longer oppress us, and our mind is free. This is the mind of the samana. Just as they say, when one sees the breakup and cessation of things, one sees the samana. We see that we own nothing, and that to experience the mind that is inwardly complete and mature, we must abandon our clinging to all things. This is seeing our true humanity. Another way of saying this is that the mind becomes wise, well developed with mindfulness and insight, and has full knowledge and understanding of the way things are, so that it cannot be compelled by or dominated by anything. The mind experiences the highest happiness. We are familiar with this word happy as used by the Buddha in his teaching, Nati Santi Paramang Sukhang. There is no happiness superior to that of the peaceful mind. We need to reflect on this as we walk the Buddha's path. We mustn't think it is not relevant or not our duty. We must look at the death of a loved one as an opportunity to gain benefit in the practice and for skillful qualities to arise in the heart. Please understand it in this way. The Buddha encouraged us to practice well, practice correctly, and practice in line with the Dhamma.